Welcome to the second hour of Authentic News right here on RBN Live this 11th April 2025, where I take your calls. First up, Paul from New Jersey. Paul, join the conversation.
Hello, Mr. Petzer. Mr. Petzer, I just want to make a quick point about how we measure economics. And it works like this. Like, let's say you have an orange tree in your backyard, and you go out and pick an orange and eat it, right? Now, because there was no money transacted, there is no, it's not considered part of the economy. And so I think when we compare, the Chinese economic output and their economy and the productivity, all the rest of that stuff, really, it's because we always only look at monetization as a means of measuring the economy. So really, when people make it sound like, oh, America's got the number one economy, I don't really measure it by that. I measure it by exports, imports, who's importing, who they're doing business with, the levels of trade. And to me, the Chinese clearly have a much bigger economy than we do, what it comes down to. And we monetize everything. And we have a lot of dependent people, who they go to Starbucks and they buy a cup of coffee there. That's considered, a big economic thing, and it gets counted. But if you make a cup of coffee at home, again, it's not much of a scene in the economy, even though both things are still the same.
I think that's a very good point, Paul. I wouldn't be surprised at all if China didn't have a larger economy. If China were not actually number one and the U.S. only number two, that wouldn't surprise me at all. You make a great point.
Yeah, and if you think of it like when we look at tropical nations, like let's say you got, a stereotypical like equatorial little, place in the Caribbean or something, and you got your shack and you got your fruit trees and you have some goats. People are going to look at you as poor because, there's nothing measured. There's no money transacted. But the reality is many of these people, they live very rich lives, and they're, in a sense, very wealthy because the water quality is good. They might, out fresh fruit right off a tree, and a lot less stress of not being caught in traffic, not having to deal with bills so much. And not having to deal with, the economy or being seen as part of taking part in the economy. And so that's why, to me, a lot of this is very relative. And I think they really, especially, love to skew the numbers against China because so much of it's an embarrassment because, as we know, China is considered communist. And God forbid the communists do capitalism better than the capitalists. That gets, the capitalists all crazy.
That's great, Paul. I love it. That's great.
And really, the communists have managed their economy, the Chinese communists, much better than the Americans have. I mean, who's the nation with $36 trillion in debt? Right? It's the United States. And
yes.
If anything, that is just an absolute condemnation, and an apparent just makes it evident of the failure of the past 40 years of our government. They really are. So many of these people, except maybe the occasional Ron Paul, but otherwise, every one of these people has run up the debt, voted to run up the debt, and really they're and through that $36 trillion, debt, and I love some of the callers who say we should just repudiate it, and I agree with that. However, the very running up of the debt is the failure of the current, democratic capitalist system we live in. And you got to admit, the Chinese didn't do that, did they? So clearly, the communist Chinese, say what we will about human rights, and I understand that. That's a very good point. But when you actually measure it in terms of benefiting the most people in the shortest period of time, I mean, the past 40 years of the communist Chinese, they've been extremely successful. They've managed it and run their country phenomenally, while we've run up $36 trillion in debt, which is a failure.
Yeah, remember, Paul, now most of that debt is interest on interest to the Fed for printing the currency of the United States. If you took that away, the national debt would be comparatively trivial. It's just insane that we have this setup where a consortium of private banks is making fantastic sums of money for printing the currency of the U.S. when the Department of the Treasury could print the currency of the U.S. for no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of it has to do with the Federal Reserve being out of control, excess money printing, and that's enabled the federal government to go on these spending sprees, and now the national debt is about the same as what Donald Trump plans on spending on the military this year. He wants to build a $1 trillion budget for the military.
Yeah.
And so, this is really a long-term concept. Yeah. But this is really long-term. No, it seems like a long-term governmental Ponzi scheme, and I think it's going to come down to some kind of showdown where they're going to either repudiate the debt or they're basically going to have to steal all the wealth, or more likely, than rounding up all the money from them they can get out of the middle class's pockets. The most likely thing will be they'll just inflate it more, because I think that's what the problem.
I think a lot of us are worried. That you're exactly right, Paul. A lot of us are worried. Very good. Give us a final thought.
Well, I got a dog barking. He wants to go out. I got to go. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you for the call. Dan in Washington, join the conversation. Dan.
All right, thanks. Real quick on Paul's point, I noticed when you hear there's PPP versus GDP, and when you hear Russians talk or Chinese talk, they talk about PPP, which stands for purchasing power parity, and that's what the average person can buy, with their job. What can you buy for going to work every day? And they're judging their economy based on PPP, not GDP, which is kind of the Anglo stock market. They're measuring GDP and saying because we have the biggest GDP, we're the wealthiest. But it doesn't really work out that way when you have a currency that's stock market that's totally overinflated and stuff like that. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out, PPP versus
that's good, Dan.
GDP.
Anything else? Anything else? Anything else?
Yeah. I called. Keith Rogers kind of stole my point. I've been bringing up this term "we" lately, and like, who is we? And one reason I didn't vote is because Patrick Slattery is generally right. I mean, we do basically, if you have to look at Jewish power, and they're in charge, they control the media and the money, and it's been like that probably since World War I. So that's one reason I don't vote. And if you look at when the president comes on TV and says we, a good example of we just means basically the people the oligarchy, the people that control the Federal Reserve, the people that run the media, which is basically, we have like Jewish ruling families. And if you look at Clinton and not Bush, but Clinton, Trump, and Biden, they all marry into these families just like you'd marry into a royal family in Europe. But Panama Canal is a good example. They said, we're taking back the Panama Canal. Well, all that really happened was BlackRock went in there and bought a couple ports. So it just means BlackRock at that point, financial firms.
Yeah.
That's who we is. We defeated the Nazis, even though 90% of America was against World War I and II. So we really haven't done crap. We defeated communism or blah, blah, blah. But I think every time they've used that term we, it just means basically the Jews. and a few rich Anglo families that run the empire, basically. So anyway, that was my main point. Have a good weekend. Appreciate it.
Good, Dan. You too. Dave in the Thumb, Michigan. Join the conversation. Dave, welcome back.
Hey, Uncle Fester, how you doing, brother? Thank you for taking my call. Give me a Bubba, give me a Scout, give me a Reb, give me a Bubba, give me a Scout, give me a Reb. Bubba, Scout, Reb, Bubba, Scout, Reb. Kick him in the head, kick him in the head.
He's here.
So, look.
He's here.
Yeah, right. Go America, right? I really wasn't going to say much else than that until I heard Paul. In my view, okay, and it's limited, I don't believe anybody's currency is worth a damn any more than ours. And almost every country has our central bank, right? And the money is all fraud unless there's no interest involved. And, it's backed by whatever. But that's a bunch of crap, because what good does that do me, right? Gold's going to be $10,000 an ounce. Why would I want gold to be $10,000 an ounce? They own all the gold, right? What little bit I can muster up, if it's worth $10,000, what, I got to cash it in to get $10,000 and then I get fiat money, right? It's like, it's ridiculous. And that Federal Reserve note is a debt note. Every dollar spent is a dollar towards the debt. You cannot pay a debt with a debt. And then they didn't take into consideration the interest. So the interest racks up. The only thing that taxes go to pay is the bondholders' interest on the debt, right? That they buy those T-bills and whatever. Now, for me, I voted I'm 65. I've started voting when Reagan was in office, and I voted for Reagan because my stepdad said to vote for Reagan. Then I voted for, Poppy Bush, against my better judgment, but, and then I voted for Clinton once, and after that, I don't really believe I've ever voted again, because there's never been anybody to vote for. And I learned recently, within the last 10 years, that, when I started really studying this stuff, laws can only be passed by the consent of the governed, according to the Declaration of Independence. And I believe that 100%. So if we participate in their scam elections, we are consenting no matter which way it goes. Whether you got a dog in the fight or not, you're consenting by voting, and then now you're part of their scheme. So I don't vote anymore because I do not consent to anything these scumbags are doing. And I think I'll end it there. So I really appreciate your research, the books you've written. Even though I can't read them, I'm blind, but I know I've heard you talking about them for years on other shows, and you're one of my heroes because I know what you've been through, especially the Sandy Hook thing. It's a joke what they've done to you because you have an opinion, and it is your opinion, even though it's fact, right? And you can back it up with fact. So these scumbags have got to go. And the only way that's going to happen, I'm afraid, there's only one way, a bloody revolution. And, we cannot keep consenting and voting because it don't work. What's his name? One of them authors from the 1800s, right? He said if voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it.
Yeah,
so
you got it, Dave. Thank you.
Great weekend.
Thanks for those kind words. You too. Bubba Scott Reb, you're on. Join us.
Bubba Scout. First Team Pentagon, Bubba Scout Reb, Wrath of the Almighty. I just lit up to Congress, Brittany Pedersen. You're out of session. I said, look, you threatened a federal witness, stop the government. You said you were going to report a threat. So I dialed the National Command Center, the Joint Chiefs. Here you go. Report your threat. That's what it all goes to. It goes to the National Command Center, 703-697-9121. Everyone in America should be damn mad. We told them this jerk, Mr. whatever his name is, Potato Head, one in the White House, he's got to go. Him and this Fox News man who's run the Department of Defense, they won't answer the phone. They're scared to death. Your Secretary of Defense chicken crap bastard, he's Fox News. They're all going. They're going. Maybe he wants to go to Mars. We got a rust bucket at Cape Canaveral. Him and Muskie. We'll put him on it. Send them off there. It's a one-way trip. We don't want them here. They're jerks. They've told us F word to the white race in so many ways. And Mr. English is the only official language of the... Is he kidding? Has he been out in the public lately? They don't speak English. These built across the border. They're going. We know how to get rid of them. Believe us. Keep boning your Congress. Don't shut up about Bub Scout Rev. That man just said it. Bub Scout Rev. It's the only call sign like it. It's the only one under military jurisdiction. It's the only one that knows how to use firepower. This thing spits out 4,000 rounds a minute. It's 20, 25, 30 millimeter gas. That's what we're going to chew them up with and spit them out. And that 120 millimeter, they don't need any more of those long-range siege guns. This thing will roll up close and it'll do more damage. And that AC-130 gunships with improved firepower, they're dead. We're going to turn this place into the bottom of a shake and bake bag. We're sick of this people telling us they couldn't afford living in California. They moved here. No, we don't need you and your dope. Everything that's wrong that ever happened to me is someone else's hallucination. I ain't never even lit a cigarette, and I've never been drunk. Like, you get all the alcohol you want, or I don't even have to pay for it. But I don't go looking for it because it don't mean nothing. I'm just telling you, everything in this country is based on hallucination. That's what it is. Because these dark people from Latrinoville, they think they own this place. You're not getting it. This was stolen by Whitey. This isn't even like the descendants of the North American Negro slave. That's how they sold that civil rights. And they got the worst of it because as soon as that got through, the UN started dumping the whole third world. And through who did it? Well, it was the Catholic Church. We knew they did that. It was them, the Council of Rome. Everybody knows about that. There was siege on America. That's what started it. And Johnson finished it off, that bastard, with his civil rights. And it made it worse for the descendants of North American Negro slaves. They were better off segregated from the evil whiteys. They were. They knew it, too. And the smart ones said, no, don't force this. And now they're being pushed out by every third world dark person they get. And who trains the guineas? The scumbags of the 911 system? Well, it's those ones from the Arabian Peninsula, the darky yids, who look like the same as the bag or the sand, whatever, the jerks that we're fighting wars with. They look just like them. They come up. It was your network that said, weren't those Arabs dancing on a van while the World Trade Center was on fire? And somebody called and said, hey, what the hell? And when the stupid guineas showed up, I said, oh, no, they're yids. They're okay.
Take it. Hold that thought, and I'll let you complete it when we return from this break. Stand by. Very nice. Very nice. Bubba, continue your thoughts.
That's what happens when you let the Latrinos overrun your continent. Look at their flag. It's a snake fighting with a bird. What the hell is These are savages. Everything is depicted by them, machetes and violence and vermin. They're savage people, and you better wake up. They believe this is they don't have to speak English, no matter what Mr. Draft Dodger says. Did George Washington's birthday ever have a parade of the military? No, they never. George Washington commanded. They gave him a 6th star because after that jerk Eisenhower ruined America, and he was a jerk. He had 5 stars. Well, George Washington's better than that, and they gave him a 6th star posthumously. Never got a military parade on his birthday, but this jerk, the draft dodger, wants to. Well, it's the 14th of June. He wants a military parade. You go figure who's running America, and these are bastards. I've heard all this on your own network. The Cardinal General, or whatever, he's the Catholic official that runs these guineas. Bub and Scout used to live right behind that Catholic church. We call it the Church of the Immaculate Deception. I never went in there. I never ever went into Catholic church. But this place is where Pope 23, Pope Dope, he's popular from Poland, and he stayed there 3 days, 3 nights in the rectory or something. They polished that place up. And as a result, it was targeted by the Almighty and zapped it in June of 1997. Bubba was there, and a lot of those pieces that fell on Logan Street were replaced with. We gave it to the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Give us your final thought, Bubba.
We're not final till we wipe them out. But the Guineas, the one we call this 911 bastards, they have their funeral ceremonies at that church. That's where it's held. And then they drive them to where they plant the bastards. But this is how it's run in America. And Catholics bring in the Yid from the Arabian Peninsula to torture the white race. And you better get with the pro. Call everywhere we give you. Call the National Command. Try to get through the Secretary of Defense. Tell them, get the hell out of our country, you traitors of Bucks News. They told us this. They hated the white race in the first decade of the century. We had this stuff. So get us to do our job. Bo Scout, Rev War, like the man said, we're going to kick them in the head, and they're all leaving.
Thanks, Bubba. Francis, join the conversation, Francis.
Well, hello, young man. CEO, guten Tag, namaste, konnichiwa. Did I leave one out? Yeah, several. But anyway, wishing you all a fun weekend for that matter. And speaking of which, I need to do a rebuttal. I need to clear my reputation and so forth. For one thing, yes, I did goof up on when we had a depression, when we had a recession, and how many we had and so forth the other day. So I went and did some research, and yes, I made a couple of goofs on that. At least I own up to it, and at least I'm clarifying it right now. Now, with that said, now that doesn't rule out the aspect of what we're going to be facing later on this year. Don't get me wrong. But, and I mean but, George Soros doesn't have enough money to buy off my tail, as has been, shall we say, stated, accusation-wise and so forth. And for one thing, why would I be calling RBN if that was the case, for that matter? So if anyone wants to have fun with George Soros, do it on your own time, not mine. The dude is filthy. He is reprehensible, just like several politicians up in D.C. So I have no use for the bird because he don't have enough money to cover my tail. So with that being said, the thought also of the fact that they want to bulldoze Gaza and so forth is absurd. It is abhorrent, reprehensible, and so forth. Along with the thought of having a two-state area over there, excuse me, you give them a two-state region, and one's going to try and take out the other and finish it off and obtain the rest of it. Because when you give people an inch, they'll take a mile. So they need to get over that. Make sure that the Zionists that are over there trying to do bloodshed on Palestinians are somewhere else, Turkey, who knows where. Let them go somewhere else and let the Palestinians live in peace in what was formerly Israel, now Palestine. Pardon me?
Final thought. Final thought, Francis.
Well, the final thought in general is, I think it's very obvious from the actions. So for one thing, it's possible that the one politician can make a comment to the effect of releasing the files regarding Kennedy and so forth, which can get you excited. But look at their actions, not their words. And lastly, of course, hang on.
No, say it now. Say it now.
Well, for one thing, you already have two Satanists, Butcher Benny and Donald. You have two classic Satanists there. It's reprehensible.
Hey.
And love to the Palestinians.
Thanks, Francis.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Something in the way she woos me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. Somewhere in a smile, she knows.
Wonderful. Dave and the Thumb had a final point. Dave, welcome back.
Say it again.
Dave and the Thumb, welcome back.
Yeah, JP, can you hear me?
I do, JP, but Dave and the Thumb had a final point he wanted to make. He'll be next after him. Dave, are you there or no?
Wow.
Go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hi, guys. Hey, Dr. Fester, when you were talking about diabetes, did you say you and your wife both had type 2 diabetes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Dave.
so I'm a distributor in a healthy lifestyle company, and the guy who started that company is Dr. Joel Wallach. You ever heard of him?
No, but go right ahead.
Okay, he came out with a health lecture in 1993 called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. Have you ever heard that?
I've heard of it.
Okay, well, that guy saved my life, and I became a distributor in his company, and he made me a health coach. He's 85 years old, and he hasn't been sick a day in his life since he was 9 when he reversed his own illness. Now, he reverses type 2 diabetes. He's been doing it for 50 years almost, and it's easy, okay? It is a lifestyle change, but there's certain minerals that the body has to have in order to control blood sugar. But his docs, let me give you his website so you can look at it. He's written multiple books, and you can see his background and who he really is. He was 7 years in the artillery and 20 years in the Air Force. Retired as a lieutenant colonel. The guy's brilliant. It's D.R.J. Wallach, WALLACH.com, drjwallach.com. Look at that site. If you're interested in me, I can coach you through this. Take my number down and call me, okay? Or I can call you. I can call the show back next week. But look at it. It's easy. And thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for adding that. Excellent. JP, go right ahead, JP. Welcome. We lost JP? Okay, Tom. Tom in Florida, join the conversation. Tom.
Buenos días, señor. Buenos días. Hola. Now listen, give me a bubba, give me a stout, give me a red. Now listen, I gotta say, Bubba Scout Reb's he's onto something there when he says about the Hispanics. They're not the Latinos, they're Hispanics. that are trying to take over. But he's actually kind of point there. But yeah, by the way, nobody has nothing. Jelly Roll doesn't have nothing on Dave from Michigan. I mean, the way he sings that, he ought to do a rap song. Bubba Scout Rib, Bubba Scout Rib. Yeah. You can come up with all kinds of songs with Bubba Scout Rib. But anyway, yeah, Jim, let's get rolling here. I'm going to get rolling here with some subjects here. First off, Donald Trump today signed a bill. They're proposing there will be no more daylight savings time. Say you. What do you think?
It's okay with me.
You like that idea? I think
it's okay with me, Tom. Yep. No more daylight savings time. Also, Donald Trump is absolutely right. These red commie Chinese bastards, like Bubba Scout Reb says, they're not for our benefit. They're not coming here to compliment us. They're coming to eat our lunch and take our jobs. So if you think these red Chinese communists are our buddies, you're strongly mistaken there. And I'll debate anybody on that. And I was told that 40 years ago by a United States Army major that the Chinese, lived in China, and they're not out to compliment, they're out to crush us. So any one of your callers who thinks that the Chinese are our buddy, you're strongly mistaken. Let me tell you what I know. Okay? Okay.
They don't think they're coming here. Look, they were on bamboo, and the bamboo curtain opened up with Nixon. They were all on bicycles. So who's kidding who? We made them filthy rich, those Chinese, the commies. So who's kidding? So I don't want to get into that right now because that will blow my lid hearing that people refuting me on China thinking they're our buddy. We're going to make our own products here, okay? We don't need this Nubian, black, racist woman, Congresswoman, Crockett, talking about there ain't no food in the stores. She's a liar. Jasmine Crockett, whatever her name, that Nubian, is a filthy, low-life liar racist. She's a real racist. She's talking about racism, schmacism. It's that Crockett in Texas who's lying her ass off. I went to Aldi yesterday, Jim. I got eggs for $2.79. Okay? I get milk for $1.77 for a half a gallon. I get the regular milk for $2.49. So who the hell's kidding whom? I see my gas right there in South Florida right now down to $2.73. Say you, Jim. How much are you getting gas for in Wisconsin?
Oh,
Jim?
I think it's $2.85 right now, Tom, best I recall.
Well, over here in Valero, right down the street from me, I'm getting it for $2.73. Now, hasn't been that low in 5 years. So this crap, these people are spewing out Trump, doing this and doing that. And he said, hey, listen, we know about the Jews. I've already told you about the Jews. The way you beat the Jews is you tell them you're a Jew, and you're a Jew for Jesus Christ. You want to take these Jews on, you take them on that way. Okay? And as far as Layla goes, I don't know what she's paying for gas up in Canada. I hope it's cheaper than we're paying here in the United States. But I'm pretty damn happy about what the food cost is right now compared to this time last year. Last year we were paying astronomical for gas. The gas went down here in South Florida over 70 cents in a year's time. Now go figure it out in a timeline.
Wow.
70 cents down because of Donald Trump. So everybody's going to bash Trump. And sometimes your show turns into Jerry Springer hour, not the Rodney Dangerfield hour. I mean, it's crazy, the spewing of Trump. Give the guy a chance, for Christ's sake. He's already got 80 countries going along with his tariff plan. 80 countries. The only one that's refuting him is Mexico and China. Go figure. The two countries that are trying to take us down. Mexico. Donald Trump just put sanctions on Mexico. He's selling that Sim bomb. You better back your ass up. They don't even want that schmuck, that putza. But that putza better back down or Trump's going to crush that country.
Tom, give us a final thought. It's Friday, and I got about 5 callers. Go ahead, Tom. Final.
Jim, I got my final thought. Thank God it's Friday. I wish you had played some songs from the Beatles from the Yellow Submarine album. The Yellow Submarine. We all live in a yellow submarine. That's what I got to say. Now, my final thought is this.
Love it. We are experimenting.
Jim.
Yeah.
What?
We are experimenting with some variations on the songs. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I love the Yellow Submarine album. Excellent. White album, too. But anyway, my final thought is this, Jim. The bashing goes on and on your show. But all the people who called bashing on Trump, and you know as well as I do, Jim, none of them ever talked about Biden in a peculiar way like they do about Trump. Trump this, Trump that. They never thought when it comes to a Democrat, they're always in agreement with the Democrats. Look at these guys who call like these guys from New Jersey and Washington State. Their states are blue forever, Jim. Their vote doesn't even matter, even if they have conservative principles. So
Tom,
who are they
thanks.
kidding? They need
Good
to move
stuff.
the red state. So they're wasting
Much
their
appreciated, Tom. Thank you. Renee, join the conversation, girl.
Oh, God, pour me a drink. Oh, shoot, good thing it's Friday. I really appreciated Paul's call because he's thinking and he's willing to look. Okay, we almost need to look at some of the countries like China and say, okay, look, in some ways they're beating the hell out of us. They have a way better for cheaper electric car than the Tesla, okay? We have to be able to be adult enough to look at people and say, okay, like, let's be honest, where are they doing better than us, okay? And instead of just thinking we're king of the best, we're just the bestest, okay? Obviously, we're failing, okay? The Chinese didn't start the Federal Reserve. Look, the Chinese didn't run up our national debt. In fact, they didn't take our jobs. People like Trump and Ivanka and a lot of other large corporations sent the jobs over there so they could get cheaper labor, so they can have more profit for themselves. The fault lies here. It is narcissistic people who always want to point the finger out and never examine themselves. This country needs to examine itself. And as for the tariffs, if his idea was so great, how come it went into effect at midnight, and it was going so badly where it was messing up the bond market so bad, he had to change his mind. It didn't make it for 24 hours. People go, well, give him 6 months and give him time. It didn't. His idea had to be stopped in 13 hours. Okay, in fact, it's less than. It went into effect at midnight, and the market didn't open until 9:30, and I think they called it off at 1. Look, it didn't last but a few hours, and it had to be stopped because of what it was doing to the bond market. So the thing is, and then the best is, y'all need to see that video of Trump in the Oval Office and the billionaires, okay, bragging about when the market did shoot up, how they made, billionaires made something like $300 billion, okay? The thing is, and people who are looking at all the timelines on this, think it's pretty obvious there was a lot of insider trading going on. So people have to realize if you lost money, if you lost money because you didn't get the inside tip, because you don't have a seat at the billionaires table, you lost money because you're on the menu for the billionaires and Donald Trump. Okay? So the thing is, we need to look at ourselves on this instead of being cowardly and always pointing the finger. The thing is, it's the same old things. It's just when we went to Vietnam, it's the commies. We got to go fight them over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. Y'all got duped into that, and that needs to stop. It's like a Pavlovian response. A lot of these, particularly right-wingers, have been so indoctrinated with these things. As soon as they hear certain things, it triggers them, and they go into this response. I don't think they even realize it, okay? They're so programmed. And the thing is, this programming goes way back, and it was deliberate. And like I say, so a lot of people like to blame the left. A lot of this is the right-wingers' fault because of the way they have been so indoctrinated to always go blame the others. And, this could have stopped if the right-wingers had had enough integrity to join Occupy Wall Street in 2008. We could have turned this country around by coming together instead of always trying to point the finger at the other and being able to not join hands with them on something that was a common. That was our issue during the Ron Paul thing. That was our issue, and they picked it up too. The smart thing to do would have been join them, but no, they couldn't be mature enough to do that. So I'm telling you, and I can prove this, the thing is, the biggest fault goes with the right-wingers, and the Democrats are also right-wingers, and the proof is in that It wasn't the Republicans that stopped Bernie Sanders. No, it was the Democrats. They stopped him twice. They are the controlled opposition. We have they pretend they're progressive with all that little woke stuff and LGBT as a cover, but in fact, when you look at their actions, the way they stopped Bernie Sanders and the way Schumer voted with them, they are wolves in sheep's clothing. They're pretending that they're lefties, but they are right-wingers, too, when you look at their actions. Just like they'll vote for that $1 trillion Pentagon thing you watch. They'll vote for that right with the Republicans to give the Pentagon that $1 trillion budget. They do it every time, and they'll do it again. They're fakes.
Renee, give us a final thought. And by the way, JP, I was counting on having you here, buddy. I was wrong about how many callers with JP and Joe standing by, just the two. So we might have room to squeeze in one more. If you want to call. Finish it up. Give us a final thought, Renee.
Well, it's just, it's embarrassing for me how sometimes I want to call them bad names, but I have to remember this is done deliberately, okay? This is done deliberately through the right-wing broadcasting where when they finally started giving blacks and women the job, see, the white men had it all tied up. Pretty much, if they were white and a male, they got all the better jobs. And when in the 70s, when they started giving these a few of the little better jobs in judge or whatever to a woman or person of color, there was Rush Limbaugh just needling white men, turning them into particularly the kind of loser ones who need that advantage. Okay, that just needle them. To like, oh, you're just the bestest, but you're just the biggest victim. It really destroyed the character of our men and turned so many of our white men into the biggest, weak, whining. It's embarrassing, okay? And they need to examine their own programming and see how they also, all of us were programmed, every damn one of us. And you have to really spend some time examining the thoughts in your head, who put them there and why and what is true and what is not.
Renee, you have a great weekend, girl. Love your calls. Joe in Florida, join us, Joe.
Hey, Jim, thanks for taking my call. Hey, by the way, I finally figured out what that code word, Bubba Scout Reb, means. You know that's a code word? Bubba Scout Reb. It means 10 minutes of your life that you will never get back.
Hey, come on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
God. Okay. Unbelievable. Anyway, it's a wild show tonight. Hey, listen, so, I mentioned this the other day when I called. I'm Susan, I'm a practicing Christian. I believe Catholic. I believe that, things can change in the world if we turn to God and we actually get right with him, but we also pray for world peace. If ever we needed to pray for world peace, it's coming this weekend. This most preposterous so-called deal or discussions, I can't even believe Trump when he's saying these things. What exactly does he expect Iran to agree to? It's preposterous. First of all, we know it's a Jewish trap. It's a Jewish trap, just like with Libya, just like with Iraq, okay? There's some kind of a treaty that's going to be, maybe they'll agree to be inspections, right? It's not vaguely reminiscent of Iraq in 2000. We're going to inspect, and if you don't, that'll give us the justification because Iran violated the treaty. And then what are we going to do? We're going to send troops in there? As we say in New York, not just no, hell no. I mean, I was and this is my friend Tom, my neighbor down there in South Florida. You probably couldn't find a stronger supporter of Trump. I am so outraged that this president has betrayed his supporters. That's what it is. He has betrayed us, okay? We didn't vote for a war for the Jews. We didn't vote for a war to spend trillions of more dollars to risk the lives of possibly Americans. Are we going to be involved? Hey, how about this as an alternative? Here's my thought for the day. President Trump needs to invoke the Alien Enemies Act and declare Israel an enemy of the United States, and then the first act, arrest Miriam Adelson. Remove her. She is a citizen of Israel, the satanic terrorist state. Remove Miriam Adelson. Remove Congressman Brian Mast. How about removing all these other people who we know are dual citizens or who are crypto Jews and who owe their entire life, somebody like Lindsey Graham and others, Republicans like the senator from Arkansas, what's his name, who's never met a war for the Jews that he...
Tom Cotton.
And Cotton, okay, Cotton. Has this guy ever met a war for the Jews that he doesn't want? Outrageous. This is not a joke. And to my friend Thomas Florida, he always misses the point about Jews, okay? I don't hate Jewish people. But if they are loyal to the United States, what's their interest, okay? Not every Jew. Talk about the Jews that have taken over this country. We live in a country of Jewish tyranny. We live in a government of the Jews, by the Jews, and for the Jews. So we can go along and get into a world war and let the world be blown up, right? And who are we going to blame? We have nobody to blame. I support Donald Trump on many great things that he's done. But let me just tell you, if he leads us to a war, I'll be the first one in the streets to say, impeach Donald Trump. This is not what we voted for. This is an outrage. I am outraged. He betrayed his voters. Have a great weekend, Jim.
Joe, yeah. Well, hang on. I mean, you're so right. He's already made Yemen. The attacks on Yemen are already Trump's wars. And with all his support for Bibi and giving them the weapons, I mean, he's making Gaza Trump's war. He wants to own Gaza and put up a Trump hotel, casinos, and the like. It's ridiculous.
How disgusting.
Joe,
How disgusting.
Has the man lost his mind?
You know, I tell you, there are good things about that man that I like, and I'm very supportive of.
Yeah.
But when it comes to foreign policy, he's totally controlled by that sick and depraved Jared Kushner. Well, why don't we hear that name anymore? You know what? I am very suspicious that this whole plan about the Abraham Accords is a complete Jared Kushner, Bibi Netanyahu plan, okay? Now, you know, I think there are people who are making good arguments about Netanyahu. I don't know, some people are saying this is the Antichrist. I think he could be. So the question is to all of the people who call themselves Christians who support Donald Trump, are you going to follow the Antichrist? To follow Bibi Netanyahu and Jared Kushner, his puppets in the U.S.? You know, there are some people in this country who would rather, let's, whatever they want to do. They want to party. They want to have the Trump supporters that go to, let's dance to YMCA. Oh, it's a big party, right? At the same time that this president is leading us closer and closer to destroying our own country. Well, guess what? It's not going to be long. That's the other thing. I'll just say the final word that I have to say is it's not going to be a long fight because it's going to be Russia and China and Iran, okay? We're not taking out only Iran, okay? Even Iran would be a terrible mistake. You're absolutely going to have the support of China and of Russia. It's going to be a coordinated attack. And guess what? The U.S. will be defeated in 2 weeks. And maybe we deserve that if we do something as stupid and as immoral as supporting this satanic Jewish war criminal Netanyahu.
Joe, I think you got it right. Love it. You have a great weekend, my friend. I want to go back to
everybody.
I want to go back to the old time. Check this out. See whether you appreciate what we got here. Well, yeah, hang on.
Hey everyone, are you ready to back it dance? Let's do it. Put your hands together. Walk away from the hate where all you learn. And it don't say the king just like me. I'll make America great. We are all in this together. Colors. Everybody do what they stand for. Every one of you and together. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make America great. Everybody sing M-A-T-A. M-A-T-A. Let them be loud, all you girls and boys. Stand and make some noise. M-A-T-A. M-A-T-A. Do it. Sing American proud. Kiss me out and get proud. That's why when it comes time to vote, just remember we're all in the same boat. We're together, lifting up, we're united, folks, and we won't let them divide us. Walk away from the hate, we're all you learn, and we don't segregate, just like women. I'll make America great. We are all in this together. Everybody sing
Tahibo Tea Club's original Pure Pau d'Arco Super Tea comes from the only tree in the world that fungus does not grow on. As a result, it naturally has antifungal, anti-infection, antiviral,